Hello, everyone. I am super excited about today's interview. We're having one of our amazing clients here, Christiane, who's here to share her story, to talk about her journey with uh, going through the program, working with us in the rewired world. And I am so excited to have you here, Christiane. Thank you for sharing your story. Why don't we begin by you just introducing yourself and telling the women watching or listening a little bit about yourself and your journey.
Yes, hi everybody. So I'm Christiane. I live in a small town in the northern part of Germany. I'm CEO for the German branch of a global communication agency. So I'm responsible for around 220 people in 5 different offices. And as you maybe can imagine, this is a very demanding job. It's time consuming. I also need to say, coming right out of I started a job in the pandemic. It was something I've never could have imagined of, a pandemic in general, right? We only know that from TV, probably, or we thought we knew it from TV. Now we know it in real life. And so I went through 2 intense years, and I had the feeling that moving forward in the 2 years, the outcome now was really great, but that I needed to change something. And as it turned out, I got aware of Fernanda and the work she's doing, and I got curious, and this is how we got together.
I love that. Why don't you tell the people watching what made you decide to join that? You said you got curious, but like, what were you struggling with that you felt like this is what I need help with, and what made you decide then to join?
Yeah, so actually, what I struggled with my work-life balance. There was a lot of work. There was not a lot of balance or life. And I need to say, I love my job, right? So it's, or I love doing the stuff, what I do, right? So it's probably always easy to work a lot or more, or especially coming out of a pandemic where it was really intense, and also working on the transformation. But I also felt that I had very little time for myself. And I also heard my wife complaining quite a lot that that's not normal, the work I put into this job. Even so, she also says, I can see that you love it, and I love that you love it. But where is the space for us? And I also need to say that probably in the last 2 years, all of a sudden, I discovered that I had high blood pressure. I don't think anyone in my family has that, but if I track my blood pressure, I can see that's related to my work, right? It's high during the week, it's lower at the weekend. And so I knew I needed to change something, but the truth was, and I was considering doing coaching. I've done coaching before. And I've done a lot in my past. I practice Zen meditation. So I've done sessions, and I had the feeling that it's not really the coaching, or it's not really the Zen. And so I think I was on a search. And when I got in contact with, let's say, your content, right? I thought there was something that really triggered me in a way that I thought, yeah, that sounds like maybe this is something that could help me.
Yeah. And tell us then a little bit about your experience then with joining the REWIRED program. What has it been like, and what has been maybe the biggest difference from then what you tried before, the coaching that you've tried before, or even being exposed to like Zen meditation or the content?
So actually, I think it was quite good that I did Zen meditation before, right? Or had a bit of coaching, or also maybe I'm a systemic coach as well. I did that years ago. So I think it was kind of good that I had some of this experience, because when we talk about this or we wrote about it, I don't know, remember, but I asked, you say, it's an investment in yourself. And it was very clear for me that it's, when you talked about the investment in myself, that it was about making sure I have time for this. And then I asked, how much time do you think you need? And you said the answer was around 45 minutes each day, or something like that, right? And when you join this program, it's an intense program because we want to change something. So it's this self-learning platform that gives impulse. And I think for me, it was very important to find a way how to integrate it into my day, which, as I told before, was already intense. So my routine was really making space in the morning to kick it off. And some of the sessions or things I also heard while jogging or driving in a car, repeating stuff. And then there are not just the sessions you need to learn, you need to work on things, right? Challenge yourself. And therefore you need time to reflect. And then we have these 2 sessions where we meet. And I think it was really fascinating meeting all these women from around the world and hearing what everybody's struggling with or succeeding with, and the power of the group encourage you to move forward. Because I think in the beginning you're a bit like, what is this supposed to, how is this, how is this supposed to be working? And I think over time you figure it out with a group and by yourself. And then I need to say, there are also individual coaching sessions. And I really remember one, which was eye-opening, that, and actually it's so simple, right? I think my biggest challenge was really to make the change happen. And it was eye-opening when I was confronted. I always said, I need to change it. And then Rita, the coach, said, you need to change. Or I said, I can change it. And then she took away the it, and it was just, I can change. And that was the moment I realized, oh, I need to change. And that was a moment when I really tried to focus more on the things that I could or should change. And in general, if you tell it now, it seems like the simple things, but the simple things are sometimes so hard. Like really for me, it was stopping work at, let's say, if 6:30. I'm an international firm, there might be late calls or things, to make sure these are exceptions and then see how to do it. But I can really proudly say just this week, every week we went on a golf course at 6:30 or at latest 7 or went to the beach. So I'm sticking to it because I learned I need to make the change. And I know this is my story. There are other stories that people want to change. And so it really helped me, I think, in multiple ways.
You're speaking to so many things here, Christiane, that I feel we just need to kind of touch upon a little bit, because you're talking about, first of all, you've been such a star student. You're like showing up, doing the work, being open-minded, wanting to change, asking great questions, moving yourself forward, and making time for yourself. And like, to your point, it's not going to change unless you make the time for yourself. And you are super busy. The women who are watching this might be also feeling the same way. Like, I'm so busy, I don't have time. But you made the time commitment. And that's why you also had phenomenal growth and changed and managed to change. Like, again, like, I need to change, a huge insight, because sometimes it's sneaky. We still feel like, oh, but it's something needs to change. But what if I change? And the power that comes through that. And also creating work-life balance, having time with your wife, and kind of reclaiming your time and your energy. And it's been beautiful to watch that. But something that you said that I think it's so crucial and so important for a lot of women watching, because sometimes when we join the program, it's all about me and myself. And I'm like, I don't care about everyone else. Like, let me just figure out my own stuff. But at some point in the journey, we see that, wow, being in a group of people, you get to hear so many other things. You get to practice patience, compassion, listening, relating, connecting to other people. There are skills that transfer, I think, as a leader, as a CEO, especially, like learning all of those things as well, like really listening to people, what's going on for people. Can you talk a little bit about that, how it's been for you, Christiane? And like how has this changed you as a leader?
Yeah, I would like, before I go into that, I just go into one more thing, because I think it really, and this is also comes from listening, right? Because I sometimes hear some people in the call who said, well, yeah, I didn't have time to do this or that mission I had to do, or the journaling. And I thought, you know what? I mean, it's not, I pay you, right, for this, and I pay it to make me change. And so this is a program, I need to make it work. And I also had a while ago, a personal trainer, right? And he always told me also stories about very rich people he works for, where he comes, they are still sleeping, he gets a coffee, he doesn't care how he spends his hour as long as he get care, right? Will they get any fitter or slimmer, or did they get muscle? No, they won't, right? Or some people just like to talk about it when he's there. And I think this is a different picture for what we see here in this training, right? If I want to get a different body or shape, or if I don't want to get a different mindset or achieve something, I need to work. You give the framework, I need to work, right?
Yes.
So this is the one thing. And then I think being in this call with all these women, and there are a couple of things that I remember. I mean, all of us are struggling, right, with certain things. And sometimes hearing people tell about the things that they're struggling and how they feel, and you see these people talking and you learn about them, not really a lot, but a certain, let's say, you get a picture, you really think, wow, this is such a awesome woman who has achieved so much, and now look how she's talking about herself. And you're gonna like, girl or woman, you don't see yourself, you don't see how great you are. And I think this then also reflects, of course, to me, because I think everybody is so, women especially, are so critical, and then we tend to suffering somewhere in a certain spot, and we don't see all the things we achieved. And you know, we also celebrate our achievements, and it's all about creating that dopamine. I know we all have a history, but I think this really helped. It also helps when we see, I don't know, if someone is, it seems that someone is failing, right? And talks about this failure and how terrible they feel, and it makes you aware that it's not that, hey, I achieved it, I made it, I figured it all out, right? It's a journey, and there will be setbacks. And I think it's good to learn that. But it's also great to learn what they discovered. Or sometimes I came in a call and I thought, oh, there is nothing. I don't really know what I would work on. And then I heard something and I thought, oh, actually there's something in it for me that I could take. And I think, yes, listening to it, I mean, I always say listening is the biggest, most powerful instrument in as a leader, right? So it's listening to all of them that makes you learn also so much. Yeah. And that you are not alone, right? I think this is also something that everybody has challenges, topics to work on. And sometimes they're more similar than we all think.
Very much so, Christiane. And again, like, it can be so lonely sometimes, also being at the top or not having people where you can be really vulnerable with, or to share what's really going on. Like, even though I am super successful, I still struggle with these things. Or, I mean, in being in an environment where you get to talk about these things and see that reflected in other people, it can be healing in many ways. And it can feel, I mean, creating that sense of connection. And again, not feeling so alone in those struggles. Yeah. How has this then changed you as a leader? I'm curious about that.
Well, I think I'm still on that journey, right? But I can say that there were here or there a couple of situations where I got feedback. For example, one of my colleagues asked me how I could really stay so calm, considering all of the things that are going on. He would have expected me getting probably more into something, but it's also about, learning about our universe, how things work, and I mean, what do I have if my blood pressure goes really high, right? It's not good. Let's see how to stay calm, grounded, and balanced. And of course, I cannot always make it. But I think also I use some of these things already to have conversation with our teams, the way we talk about things, and also make them aware of how the brain works, because I think some things, the way we think about things, the limiting beliefs, I see that a lot in that this is holding us also back from change. And so I use these things to bring them in. And I also think, well, I got also feedback from some people that as a leader, they think I'm great at strategy, and they think I can change stuff. But also I hear a bit that they sometimes wish for a bit more, bringing more compassion, maybe, right? And I think it really helped me also to bring this more to the table. I remember a situation with an employee who said, who was really thankful in a difficult situation that I did bring so much understanding to their personal situation. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it helped me. And as I said, it's important to keep remembering all that to continue and not forget, because I think it's not a one-time solution, right? That I figured it out now all. So
yeah, it is and it constantly, in a way, creating awareness and living in that space of consciousness and awareness, and practicing those inner skills, especially as a leader. So of course, also in a personal level, having that work-life balance and being present with your wife and enjoying your life and enjoying your success. But as a leader, it's a working constantly, having that awareness. It's not one thing.
If you work more, I mean, you also you by looking at also when we go through the eye-opening process of rewiring, it really shows you how I actually continue to stay in the same loop, right? Yeah. That by the way, how I think, how I act, how nothing will change, right? And that I need to think differently to make the change happen. I think these are really, that is a big help. I think that will help also in the future. Look to have now a couple of techniques that help you to look at things where you think, oh, something's wrong here, right?
And to your point, Christiane, because I think it kind of changes the trajectory of your whole life. Once you see all of this and once you know where to look, like, okay, I need to look here. Like, it's a lot of the things that are going on, it's actually coming from me. And we learn to do that. Once we have seen that, we can't go back. Like, now you cannot unsee what you now know and have seen about your brain and how it works and what it does. You start seeing it in other people. I mean, it is in a way that shift that continuously then impacts going forward, day in and day out, from a moment to moment basis, with constant awareness that that's exactly where I need to look. And that's the work that needs to be done. And what would you say was, like, what is one piece of advice or wisdom or knowledge? Like, what is the thing that you have received from working or learning from the Rewired world that has changed you the most, or that you feel like, that was priceless? Like, something that you mentioned the conversation you had with Rita. Is there anything else?
No, I think it's I don't know how you would call it. I think it's a whole program, right? It's a big, because I think like I'm not sure if I frame it like it's a setting you get, like with everything, right? With the self-learning, with the meditation, with the journaling you're supposed to, with the team, with the individual sessions. I think it's a whole thing. I just remember the one meeting where I got confronted with some of the obvious truths that I couldn't see, right? Was a special moment that I probably will always remember, because it was then eye-opening, that it's all in my hands. In general, I would just say for everyone who really goes into this, don't think just because you're in that program, it will come by itself, right? You need to work on it. And Fernanda, you put together really, I think, a very outstanding program with knowledge, there is a lot of science in there, right? And I think maybe the other thing that I took away and is also is, well, in a way that I just need to also have trust in the universe. it will really, I mean, it will decide in a way. I'm not to worry too much, right? And there is this song, "Don't worry, be happy," right? So I think it's also for me taking away, not worrying so much about future things, rather really be present in the now and try to see where to focus on. There are so many things actually, right? More power prioritization or the radical self-care are things that I take away, but I think they came not out of one thing or another. It was the sum of it.
Yeah. I love that. And we talk a lot about that. I think when we're talking about like what at the core of it, why don't we have work-life balance, for example? Why do we feel like we're just endlessly worrying and working and overworking and over delivering and over giving, or why is that happening at the core? And you just touched upon that, Christiane, I think, because when we start creating more trust in life, in the universe, like, what if I can let go of the worry? What if I can let go of the need to control the outcome completely, and holding on that grip that creates so much suffering? Again, like the depthness, I want to say, of mindfulness and the Buddhism at the core as well comes to that, exactly to what you're speaking to here. And I think for everyone listening, to create that level where you can start trusting yourself and start trusting life and the universe, and like in a bigger, just landing in that, it also takes work, like you said. We have to ourselves get there. Like, I cannot do that for you.
Yeah, I think also, I guess I was also always very limited in my thinking when it came to options, right? I think also learning about there are always, even if I think there is no option or just, there are always multiple options. It's just the way how we look at it, right? And I think that was another big takeaway for me, which I probably have to remind me more often than finishing work more on time.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's also like a huge mindset shift. Instead of always looking maybe at the problems, we shift, and we work a lot of that in the program, to shift into solutions. Like, what if there are always options and solutions? And the moment we start seeing that, of course, our mind starts opening up for those, and things can start shifting. Oh my God, I feel like I could just talk to you forever, Christiane. I ask you so many things, but I want to ask you one last thing, and it is, or anything else that you feel like sharing, of course, that you feel like, oh, this has to be said. But what would you say to someone on the fence, or maybe like watching this, I'm like, yeah, but I don't have time, or I'm gonna think about it, or I'm gonna maybe wait a year, maybe in the future. But what would you say to them?
I had this one moment while I was still in the program, right, where I walked through Berlin, and I saw a painting on the wall, and it said up on top, it had boundaries. That was the first thing. And then it said, if you don't change, nothing will change. I took a picture because I thought, wow, what is this? Is this the universe? I don't know. But this is what I'm going to say. I mean, if you want to change something, whatever it is in your life, you need to change, and you need to initiate, it doesn't help if you, I think, wherever, I mean, you can always change your job. You can change your partner probably, or I don't know, the country where you live in, but maybe you most likely will see the same problems maybe with the next partner or the next job. So it's, I really think it's all about me, the person I need to work on. This is what I always can influence most, but I need to be open. I need to reflect myself. I need to be open to hearing things that I might not want to hear, maybe, right? Mm-hmm. But I also would say, really, if you do this, really make sure you really invest the time and do the stuff, because if you don't do it, you will not get out. And I need to say, maybe I also say that in the beginning, I was a bit reluctant because, I mean, I didn't know you, I didn't know your program. I also, need to invest some money, right? And you ask yourself, is it worth it? Is it a fraud? We don't know each other. There's no relationship. And I reached out to someone who did your course, and she said, yeah, I'm still working with Fernanda. I did that on LinkedIn, right? So, but this is also why I volunteered to say, here, let's have a conversation, because I can say it was worth the investment, money-wise and definitely time-wise. And this is what I say to everybody else. I mean, I think what I really liked, it was a combination of there, as you said, there are aspects of meditation, Buddhism. There's also your science that you bring to the table. It's a self-learning. So you can actually, I mean, I did it in the morning, others could do it in a lunch break or at evening, right? Or on the weekend or whatever. So it's flexible, but again, me needs to make it work. So yeah, this is why I said I also do this video, because I would recommend it to others who want to change something, and it could be different things, right? It doesn't need to be changing work-life balance or preventing burnout or something like this. Could be totally different topic.
I absolutely agree with that. I mean, wanting to change, and it doesn't really matter what, just knowing that I need to change, and there are things about things, how I think about things and how I do life that needs to change in order for everything else to change. And just with that mindset, anything is possible. Well, what is possible for you now then, Christiane, if I may ask?
I mean, I think everything is possible, right? There is probably no limitation. No, I'm open to everything. I mean, as a firm, we're going through another, still continue. I mean, who doesn't, right? It continues the transformation, because you always need to stay relevant in this world that is changing, right? So. So I have big plans for us as a firm in the next 5 years. And while that, I mean, my goal is to have sustainable success and enrich my life, right? So it's really both, making sure I keep the balance. That's the key, being happy.
Yeah, I love that. Beautiful. And yes, I mean, you're limitless. Like I said to you before, I'm not worried about you at all. I'm just so excited about what you're gonna create and where you're gonna move on to next, and the changes you're gonna create. They're so lucky to have you, Christiane. Thank you so much for sharing your stories, everything. I mean, we love you so much, and yeah, don't be a stranger. So excited for what's to come next.
Yes, thank you.